this issue is a really compelling one, and it really embodies some of the bigger debates that we're going to have in this building over the course of the next months. And well, it actually can't last years, because we have a budget problem that's going to come to a head well before several years from now. I will stipulate, and typically on either side of this issue, you have the cold, hard Republicans who don't care about public workers, is the image that some folks put out there. But the right likes to portray the left as people willing to just give away money willy-nilly without considering the impact. Let's assume both of those characterizations are incorrect. I assume that we are all interested in working on these issues to the best interest net of all the people in New Jersey. There is a huge debate that must happen regarding the wisdom of this policy and the impact it will have on the private sector. And that one we can go back and forth about. Senator Vitale mentioned Forbes magazine talking about the fact that any dollars given to folks in the poorer end of the spectrum will likely come back into the community. A number of people have raised the fact that you can't survive on a minimum wage salary. I think there's some debate about those issues, but let's say I stipulate to those two facts. The thing I'm here to talk about today that not many people are talking about is the impact on New Jersey's budget. I'm the budget officer in the Assembly, and we heard staggering numbers from people that want to see increases in minimum wages in New Jersey, or even not minimum wage, people that are making $10 an hour now, our community health providers, mental health providers. We heard testimony from certainly nonpartisan entities like the community provider titled entity of mental health and the ARC. Both separately came up with a number that to me was staggering that would impact their budgets. The number was $250 million fully phased into $15 an hour. We don't have a $1 billion problem in this year's budget or a $2 billion problem in this year's budget all in. Over the next 5 or 6 years, we have a $7 to $8 billion problem that we all need to start leveling with the public exists. Between fully phasing in our pension payments, we have a little transportation issue that we're going to have to deal with. And a host of other things. If you fully phase those things in, we're looking at a $7 to $8 billion number. 100% of the growth of our revenue, natural growth of our revenue, will be absorbed just with pension and health benefits and some debt increase. So there is no money to do things, no matter how noble they may be, and this may be one of those things. But I've asked the folks who are supporters of this bill, what are the numbers? What's the impact going to be on our state budget? And stunningly, no one's been able to give me that answer. I heard in the Senate budget, the answer to questions like this the other day was, well, we think we'll be able to reduce aid because folks in these categories will be more self-sufficient. Well, I did some back-of-the-envelope calculations, and it is a small percentage of the dollars that this will cost the state, both in state workers and our independent providers. It'll be a small percentage that's offset by the state's ability to cut other categories of aid. And if it is a higher percent, then I have to go back to the folks who are supporters of this bill and say, well, if it's a wash, then we're really not improving people's lives, are we? So you can't have it both ways. And I haven't heard anyone in this committee make that argument yet, with all due respect. So the bottom line is that no matter how good the cause, curing cancer, helping people who are struggling do better in their communities, we all want to see that. We all want to see both of those things. Someone at some point needs to be the skinflint who says, how are we going to pay for it? And no matter how powerful we are, and I will concede that I'm appearing before the much more powerful body of this House, of the legislature today, no matter how powerful we are, we don't have the power to alter the laws of mathematics. And the laws of mathematics are stark and stunning right now, what we face in the next few years here in New Jersey. We are headed for a cliff of epic proportions unless we get sober about exactly where we're going to come up with money for issues and causes, no matter how wonderful they sound. We are, at the same time, considering this proposal, considering another that would mandate we make pension payments in a certain particular way in quarterly payments. The quarterly payment mandate alone will increase our need to increase our surplus by at least $1 to $2 billion. If you don't do that, you will have no cushion if we run into a fiscal meltdown, say like we ran into in 08, 09. You'd have to close schools. It would be devastating if you don't have a cushion, which we will completely eliminate any cushion that's related to pensions if we pass the constitutional amendment that's now on the table. That's an extra $200 million to $250 a year every year for the next 5 years or longer. We have to look at all these things cumulatively. We cannot keep layering them on, parse these issues, and hope the public won't notice. I believe that everybody here and the proponents of this bill, their hearts are in the right place. But ultimately, we need to accept the laws of the finite amount of resources. And the resource that I'm most concerned with this morning is the money in the people of New Jersey's pockets and the taxpayers of New Jersey. We are driving them, we're driving New Jersey, and by extension our taxpayers, into insolvency. That can't happen, no matter how good the cause. And I concede the need to pay people more. We have gone 5 years or so, 6 years in many cases, with people in these categories we're talking about, state workers and workers with our independent service providers, getting no raise. That's a problem. We're eventually not going to be able to hire people to be in these positions. But if we're going to solve it, we need to solve it with the answer of how we're going to pay for it. And you can't both support the constitutional amendment guaranteeing pension payments without reforms, which is what's on the table right now, and support this proposal and any other proposal to add money to any cause, no matter how good it sounds, without running into the harsh realities of the laws of mathematics.